Welcome back to Creating Stuff with Jim. I'm Jim. It's time to create something. In this episode, we're working on Inferno, and we've previously gotten the engine, transmission, both transfer cases installed, and now it's time to install this, which is a cross member and a transmission mount. Basically, this is going to connect both frame rails together, add strength, is going to protect the transmission and transfer case from rocks from underneath, and it's also going to support the transmission mount and to support the back of the transmission. So anyways, that's what we're doing. And we're starting with this is more or less a universal, actually I don't even want to call it a universal. This is made for a Tacoma. This is made to use with a Tacoma transfer case, but it was not meant to go on this truck. Like I said, as you're finding out on this Inferno build, that most everything going on this truck is not meant for it. But we're making it fit, and it's going to work for what we're doing. So unfortunately, it was easier and cheaper to go ahead and buy this, and we're going to modify this to work for what we need it to do. So anyways, this is what we got going on. So our first step is we're going to put a transmission mount on the back. We're going to make this up to the transmission mount, and then we're going to check all our clearances and see what we got to do to mount it. So enough talking about it, let's get into it. All right, we're going to start by repositioning my jacks, because this jack is positioned right where the transmission mount's going to go. And what my plan is, I'm putting this cross member up, is I'm going to bolt the transmission mount onto the back of the transmission. I'm going to raise the cross member up. I'm going to bolt the cross member to the transmission mount, and then I'm going to move everything around and get the fitment where I want. Check, and when you do this, you have to check for clearance all around the transmission, the back of the engine, look at your output shaft angle. We're going to take a lot of that into consideration, but once again, we got to see where this is going to land, and then once we get it positioned right, then we got to figure out how to attach this cross member to both frame rails. So anyways, so to start, like I said, I got to move my jack points around, and because this one's in the wrong place, and so I'm going to take a screw jack. I'm going to lift on the underside of the transmission pan, and there's some people are going to say not to lift on a pan, which I do agree. Unfortunately, it's what we got right now, because when we put the cross member up, it's going to cover up everything else we can lift on. So this is all we got right now. But the one thing I'm going to do is anytime you lift on a pan, you always put a block of wood. And the other thing you'll note is I'm putting the block of wood sideways, because the strongest part of this pan is the two bends on either side. The sides come down in these bends. This is where the strongest point is. So put a block of wood that's long enough so it goes all the way from side to side, so you can get the strong points of the pan. Because if you lift right in the middle, you'll just push up right in the middll. You'll probably end up hitting the valve body underneath, and it'll hold it. But still, we're gonna do it the best way we can. So this is what it is. And I will make an apology ahead of time, is at one point or other I'm gonna turn a fan on, and that might be some background noise, may interfere with the audio. Unfortunately, here in southeastern Virginia, this time of year, it's pretty darn hot. So I will be running a fan. So I apologize if that screws up the audio. All right, crank the jack up. We've now taken weight off of this jack, so we can loosen this one up. And we are going to lower this down a little bit. It is a little high. have the Crossmember Test fitted as right now, and basically how I have it set up, like I said, I'm still somewhat being supported by my transmission jack, but I got the clamps on the side, and each side I'm butted up against the frame rail, and I've got a couple pieces of 1/2 inch steel acting as shims right now. I'm just mocking this up to see how this fits. So, but if you look back up around here, like I said, I can get my hand in between the transfer case and the body. That's good clearance, and even if I need a little bit more right there, it's not hard to take a hammer and just beat that in a little bit. But that should be plenty of room. Should have zero issues. And you can see up in here. Here is the up in here is the shifter housing for the triple stick. It has plenty of room above it. This is great, and my goal about all this is to keep these transfer cases as high up as possible so I can get the most ground clearance underneath the truck. So it's a delicate balance between clearance of the body and clearance underneath the truck. So up forward, I got excellent clearance of the front case and the transmission. This truck does have a 3-inch body lift on. That makes doing this sort of thing a lot easier. I can keep this transfer case pushed up nice and high. This is great. Like I said, we got plenty of room on this side. So this is looking pretty good. And what's left of the drive shaft tunnel in the body, the output shaft is centered in that. That's excellent. So I got all kinds of room. So anyways, so clearance and the fitment, all this look pretty good. I'm very happy with it. So what I'm going to end up having to do is, and then this is where the original Crossmember originally went. So it looks like I should be close enough. I should be able to reuse the, I'll have to cut holes in this, make 2 spacer plates, and I should be able to use the factory mounting holes for the factory Crossmember. That's great. I love reusing holes whenever I can. It saves time and work, and it's already there. Now, another thing I'm going to check is we're going to come up here, and as I said earlier, I left my mounting bolts loose for my motor mounts, but I was just making sure that neither one of my motor mounts are under strain. And when I say under strain, meaning if one mount's pulled hard one way and the other is pulled hard the other way, your drivetrain's in a bind. So you gotta straighten something out. Is you're pulled too far one way or the other, and you need to fix that. So the motor mounts look good. I'm happy with that. So that looks like a this looks like a real good position for the drivetrain. So now I got to turn the camera off, and I'm going to make some. I'll come back as I make some spacer plates and cut holes in these to mount this to the frame. It's going to look good. And then also one other thing about this Crossmember, on how this is the original transmission mount. This is the transmission mount that went for this transfer case, and there is a spot to put one. I don't have one right now, but I'm going to get one, so I'm actually going to run 2 transmissions mounts on this, stiffen it up a lot. All right, I got the Crossmember down, and I just wanted to show you what I was using to mark the holes that I have to cut here. Is basically, this is a piece of plastic I 3D printed, and this was actually for a mock-up for an older design for this truck, which the design for this truck has changed multiple times before I even started. Anyways, but it turns out it's great because this has the bolt pattern for where the stock Crossmember actually bolted into. So what I did was I put these bolts in from the top. They actually align and hold this in place, and then I put these clamps to hold it in place, so then I could drop it down, and then I mark the holes. I end up using a silver Sharpie, so these are the holes that I got to cut out with a plasma cutter. Now, yes, these holes right here are on the edge, so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to make a weld on a piece of 1/2 inch plate along here, and then I'll end up welding it on and then recut the holes. So that's just the easiest way to use the existing holes that I got. So anyways, let's get the plasma cutter out. Let's get cutting. All right, well, here you go. Now I got the holes cut. I got it mocked up. I got it completely mocked up. And as you're gonna notice, this cross member is holding all the way to the drivetrain right now. Like I said, this is temporary. This is only temporary. I still gotta get some new bolts, some washers. I gotta make the actual spacer plates. These are temporary. So, but once again, it's holding all the weight. My clearances look good. Like I said, my hand can still fit in. That's a little tight, but I can live with that. We can work with that. So all my mounts look good. And here's a picture of the transmission mount. Let me get you a little bit light in there. Now, if you see this transmission mount, you can see that it's completely straight. It is even. It's not twisted. It's not in a bind. And this is exactly what we want. We don't want that thing stressed, because if you put that thing under stress before you put stress on it, it's gonna make it even weaker. So it's in a good resting position, so it can handle all the abuse I throw at it. So that's good. My motor mounts up front look good. And like I said, I still have my 1/2-inch spacer plates in there. Like I said, this is all temporary, but now, since I'm happy with the fit of everything, I need to go make some 1/2-inch spacer plates for either side. Plus I need to go to the hardware store, get some new bolts and some washers. And like I said, I need to make the pieces to weld onto the front to beef up the front half of it. So I got a little bit of work. All right, I'm back from lunch after a nice little break. I got the G-code made for the parts I need to cut out. So we're gonna get right on into it. So I'll just show you a little bit of my the computer side of things. This is just gonna be real informal. And the one thing I gotta tell you is, when you work with computers, you gotta have a good IT guy that you can lean on when you need him. Because I have an awesome IT guy. He knows who he is, because he actually has he has me really set up. Because I have a computer out here in the shop, and when I went inside to take a break, write the G-code for these parts that I need, I did the G-code in the computer inside the house, and this computer shares files with the inside computer. So I made the G-code in there, and then I just go to this computer, I just move it from one folder to another, the file comes out here so I can cut it. And there it is. I got to cut 2 of those. Those are the spacers that go underneath the cross member. And then I got the 2 filler plates I got to cut. So enough of this this computer stuff. Let's get the material set up on the machine, and let's cut some metal. There you have it. That was 1/2-inch plate steel. Yeah, it's hot. And there you have it. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Well, a little cleanup with a flat disc. This stuff should be good to go. All right, moving on with the cross member is what we have here. The cross member's down on a set of sawhorses, and this is what we got to do now. I made this mark. We're going to cut this edge off, cut that off, because that's where the bracket ends. That's on the frame, and it's identical on the other side. And then we're going to take this piece, and we're going to weld this on the edge, and then we're going to, after we weld it, grind it flush, and then we're going to recut the holes. So this will add strength to our front mounting bolts. So anyways, that's what we got going on. All right, we're back. Well, I'm back anyways. I hope you guys are back too. So anyways, I got all the grinding up, cleaning up done, painted. All the spacers are sitting on the top of the cross member. Let's put this thing up into place. I'd like to say it's the last time, but it's not. It's going to come out a couple more times. But and also, if you see anything, any jagged edges, there's going to be a whole lot more grinding on the frame of this truck. So any sharp edges are guaranteed to be hit. And anyways, on with it. Well, there you have it. The drivetrain is completely mounted on the mounts that's meant to be in. Everything looks good. I wish I could say I wasn't taking this cross member out again, but I guarantee you I will. That's it, because I'm going to put that other transmission mount in there when I get one, and then I'm going to have to notch it for the front drive shaft just for clearance. I guarantee I'm going to have to do that, but I got to get the front axle mounted and front suspension done before I can even consider doing that. So anyways, well, let's see what other stuff we can work on. Well, unfortunately, this video is getting a bit on the long side, so I'm going to have to cut it off here. But we still got a lot more work to do. So if you're not subscribed to my channel and you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. And once again, if you like the video, please share it with your friends. And until next time, see ya.